I declare this meeting open at 7 p.m. and welcome everyone to this evening's meeting of Ku-ring-gai Council. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here this evening. As councillors, we are entrusted with the responsibility of representing the diverse interests of our residents. Let us work together in a collaborative spirit, respect diverse opinions and seek common ground for the good of Ku-ring-gai. Before we begin, I'd like to outline a few procedures in relation to this evening's meeting of Council. This meeting is being recorded and webcast live on Council's website. Only councillors and council staff will be shown on camera. Attendees must not make a recording or photograph of the meeting without prior approval. Council meetings are open to the public as observers only. In line with the Code of Meeting Practice, members of the public can address Council via the monthly public forum. Council may close part of the meeting to deal with certain confidential matters in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act. These discussions will not be open to the public and will not be webcast. All attendees must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. Attendees must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the council's code of conduct or making other potentially defamatory statements. Councillors, council staff and members of the public must ensure that mobile phones are turned to silent during the meeting. Councillors and council staff must declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they may have about any item of business that is on the agenda this evening. Are there any apologies for councillors? No, it looks like you're all here today. Are there any apologies for staff, General Manager?
Madam Mayor, there is one apology from the Director of Development and Regulation, and the Manager of Regulation and Compliance is acting.
Thank you, General Manager. Are there any conflict of interest declarations for councillors? If councillors could please confirm significant or non-significant, pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and the nature of the conflict. I will start with Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
If we could just make sure we're speaking right into the microphones today, that'd be great. Thank you.
I wish to declare a potentially significant and pecuniary interest in GB16, Ku-ring-gai's TOD alternative, as I live within Council's alternative TOD plan. Council's plan may affect the value of my house as its controls are less advantageous than the prevailing low and mid-rise housing SEP. In line with the Model Code of Conduct issued by the State Government, I will participate in the debate and decision on this vital matter and have submitted the requisite form to staff.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to make a special disclosure of interest concerning agenda item GB16, Ku-ring-gai TOD alternative, as my principal place of residence may be impacted by the proposed planning controls. I have completed a special disclosure of pecuniary interest under clause 4.36C of Code of Conduct and will remain in chambers during this debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too have a special disclosure for GB16, a significant and potentially significant and pecuniary interest. I will submit special disclosures of pecuniary interest under clause 4.39 for my primary residence and for the primary residence of my parents who live near me. We both live within 400 metres of Killara Station. The changes proposed could potentially result in a financial gain or loss depending on the value of Heritage Homes' impact and the addition of the LMR. The disclosure enables me to discharge my duties as an elected representative and I will stay in the chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a special disclosure for item GB16. Similar to what I've previously disclosed in other meetings, I do have parents-in-law whose primary place of residence was within one of the original TOD zones and now in the new proposed TOD with slightly reduced floor space ratio. I believe it's not a significant issue because it's not my primary residence, and also the value shift has been very small, but I will stay in the room because the code of conduct and meeting practice encourages councillors to stay for decisions of broad nature such as this.
Thank you, Councillor Nye. General Manager, are there any conflict of interest declarations for staff?
Madam Mayor, there are no declarations for staff.
Thank you. General Manager, are there any documents circulated in the councillors' papers to be dealt with at the appropriate time during the meeting, which we refer to as the Greens?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there are quite a few. There is Merrill Minute 1, State Significant Developments. Merrill Minute 2, Update on Progress Towards Net Zero and Completion of the City's Race to Zero Pledge. There is an extra report for GB16 Ku-ring-gai TOD Alternative, dated 11 November, as well as its confidential attachment, which is relating to a legal matter, Ku-ring-gai Council versus the State of New South Wales in the Land and Environment Court. There's also a number of memos. There's a confidential memo for C2, TOD Alternative, dated 5 November 2025. There is a confidential memo for C1, Council's position on the operation of the Ku-ring-gai High School hockey facility, dated 17 November 2025. There's a confidential memo for GB12, Management and Operation of the St Ives High School Sports Centre, dated 17 November 2025. There's a memo containing a response to question with notice 1, how does Council protect our waterways from urban stormwater, dated 18 November 2025. And lastly, there's a memo for GB16 Ku-ring-gai TOD Alternative, dated 18 November 2025.
Thank you, General Manager. Now, councillors, can I have a motion for those reports to remain in confidential? Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Balachandran. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay. We'll just refer back to the General Manager as he hasn't noted the confidential reports. There's still a couple of reports that haven't been mentioned.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is confidential item C1, Council position on the operation of the Ku-ring-gai High School facility, as well as its attachment, which is a final report from OTM. There's also confidential item C2, project review. There is also confidential attachments for GB12, which is the item on the management and operation of St Ives High School Sports Centre. The 4 attachments are the list of tenders received, tender prices, financial assessment and tender evaluation report. And there is also attachment 4 to GB16 Ku-ring-gai TOD Alternative, Ku-ring-gai versus the State of New South Wales.
Okay, so I'll just do that again, councillors. So can I have a motion for those reports to remain in confidential? Councillor Alec Taylor, seconded by Councillor Balachandran. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Can I please get a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting? Moved by Councillor Barbara Ward, seconded by Councillor Kim Wheatley. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, I have 2 Merrill minutes. So I've got MM1 and MM2. So I will actually read them out today. Hopefully we can get them up on the screen. Okay, so the first Merrill minute is state significant developments. My councillor colleagues and I are fielding many inquiries from our community about state significant developments, or SSDs for short. The intent of this mayoral minute is to clarify the Council's position on these developments and to outline how our alternative plan for new housing in Ku-ring-gai may help alleviate their impacts in the future. State significant developments are large-scale projects deemed important to the state for economic, social or environmental reasons, requiring approval from the state government, not local councils. More recently, there is a particular focus on higher density residential development as SSD. The state government is under pressure to meet housing targets set by the federal government's Housing Accord. SSDs are seen by the state as one way to accelerate progress on meeting these targets. Such developments have thresholds to meet before they can be classed as SSDs. Developments with infill affordable housing with an estimate development cost of more than $75 million qualify as an SSD. SSD applications are assessed by the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure, referred to as DPHI, and determined by the Minister for Planning or the Independent Planning Commission. Council is notified of and invited to comment on SSD applications at the exhibition stage, but otherwise plays no role in their assessment or determination. On the 13th of June 2025, the state government effectively turned off the SSD pipeline while it considered our alternative plan for new housing in Ku-ring-gai. This was developed with community consultation to replace the transport-oriented development, which we refer to as TOD, policy introduced by the state government in May 2024. The main advantages of our plan are increased protection for heritage areas, protection for the tree canopy, and improved transitions between lower and higher density development. Council's new housing plan was approved by the state government on the 14th of November 2025, and as a result, our alternative plan and its requirements now apply to SSDs lodged after this date. However, the SSD originally lodged from May 2024 and June 2025 remain an issue as they are not covered by our approved plans and will be considered under the state government's TOD provisions. In addition to accelerating the delivery of dwellings, the New South Wales Government established the Housing Delivery Authority, HDA, in January 2025. The HDA will remain in place for the TOD alternative areas. A key difference from the standard SSD process is that the HDA can also support concurrent rezonings. This means that if a project requires zoning as well as development approval, the two steps can be considered at the same time by the state government. The bulk and scale of some of these developments being processed by the state government's planning agency are causing our community great concern, and rightly so. We share this concern. Council has a page on its website so the public can track SSD applications. You can view them at State Significant Development and Transport Orient Development DAs, Ku-ring-gai. Council staff have provided detailed submissions on all SSD applications, highlighting inconsistencies with height, bulk, scale, traffic generation, and impact on heritage, tree loss, and biodiversity. Our residents need to understand that we are powerless to change the scope of SSD's lodge between May 2024 and June 2025, when the TOD policy was in place for these particular sites. Council has previously requested that the government refuse all SSDs that are inconsistent with Council's alternative TOD plan. While this was not agreed, DPI provided assurance that their assessment team is following a rigorous process that considers all applications on merit, taking into account the character of Ku-ring-gai, setbacks, landscaping, topography, location, submissions, and other relevant criteria, and also having regard to Council's alternate TOD plan. The Council has done what it can to meet the government's housing targets set for our area, while offering better protection for built heritage and the environment. There are no easy solutions to this situation, but I believe we have acted in good faith to help meet housing demand and preserve the qualities that make Ku-ring-gai such a sought-after area in which we live. I move the recommendation that this mayoral minute be received and noted. I just want to see if there are any councillors that would like to speak on this mayoral minute. So if not, doesn't look like there is, I will. Oh, okay. Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to reinforce to all the residents out there that while we recognise that there are SSDs out there, a lot of them are inconsistent with Council's preferred scenario, and Council does not support these SSDs. Having said that, the final decision makers sit with the state government. So as much as Council does not like these SSDs, because they're inconsistent with our proposal, it is ultimately the state government that has influence over whether or not they progress and in what shape and form. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nye. No other speakers. I will put that to the vote for mayoral minute 1. All those in favour? That is unanimous. I will now go on to mayoral minute 2, which is an update on progress towards net zero and completion of the city's race to zero pledge. Okay, I will also read out this mayoral minute, so this will also take a couple of minutes. Given recent political developments regarding net zero, I think it is timely to outline the ways our council is responding to this crucial issue. Ku-ring-gai Council is already a participant in the United Nations Cities Race to Zero campaign, a global initiative that brings together local governments committed to taking science-aligned climate action consistent with limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The campaign reflects principles embedded in Ku-ring-gai Council's 2 key climate change policy initiatives. They are the Towards Net Zero Emissions 2030 Action Plan and the Net Zero Community Strategy. Both these documents reinforce Council's long-standing position on community resilience and emissions reduction. As part of participation in the city's Race to Zero program, councils are required to complete a formal pledge confirming their commitment to science-based targets, interim milestones, inclusive climate action, and transparent annual reporting. Ku-ring-gai is well placed to complete this pledge, with both the organisations and the community demonstrating measurable progress. The most recent progress indicators show community solar installations have more than doubled, increasing from 4,507 to 9,363 systems, with capacity rising from 21.59 milliwatts to 53. Electric vehicle uptake has increased sharply from 399 vehicles to 3,193 vehicles. Waste to landfill has decreased, falling from 26,710 tonnes to 25,827 tonnes, while waste diversion has increased from 55% to 57%, with an additional 2,016 tonnes diverted compared with baseline. Greenhouse gas emissions have fallen by approximately 65 tonnes, a 7% reduction since baseline, noting that progress remains slightly short of the interim minus 10% target. Operational emissions also show positive movement, including reduction in electricity usage and gas-related emissions relative to baseline trends. These indicators demonstrate a clear and ongoing transition towards net zero within the Ku-ring-gai community and confirm that Council's strategies and programs are delivering tangible emissions reductions. A key requirement of the city's Race to Zero program is the identification of at least one inclusive climate action. The Council's unique Net Zero Champions program is supporting Ku-ring-gai households to take their own action towards net zero with an exceptional level of participation. established following strong community interest during consultation for the Net Zero Community Strategy. The program now includes nearly 200 volunteers working across themes such as electrification and renewables, composting, and reuse and repair. The volunteers champions have delivered a range of education events, including the Sustainable Futures Day, solar education sessions, solar car racing in local schools, and a series of well-attended clothing swaps. With nearly 200 volunteers willing to give their time and engage with residents on our behalf, Council is empowering our community to act on this issue. This model is quite unique for local government in New South Wales, and we have been supporting other councils keen to replicate our success. The Champions program represents best practice in community-empowered climate action and is a significant asset to Council's broader emission reduction efforts. The timing of this Race to Zero pledge also aligns with Council's forthcoming review of the climate change policy and supporting strategic documents. Ku-ring-gai's completion of the pledge will ensure that the updated climate change policy remains consistent with leading international frameworks and continues to reflect Council's commitment to transparent, evidence-based action. To formalise Council's participation in the city's Race to Zero program, the Mayor is required to complete and sign the pledge. Relevant staff will prepare the technical information to support this progress. I'm going to move the recommendation A, that Council reaffirms its participation in the United Nations City Race to Zero initiative, noting that strong progress demonstrated across both community and organisational emissions indicators. B, that Council acknowledges the Net Zero Champions program as a key Council initiative supporting households and businesses to take climate action towards reaching net zero. And as part of Ku-ring-gai's inclusive climate action under the city's Race to Zero framework. C, that Council authorise the Mayor to complete and sign the city's Race to Zero pledge with assistance from Council staff. D, that completion of the pledge be incorporated into the forthcoming review of Council's climate change policy and strategy to ensure continued alignment with international best practice. E, that Council nominate the Net Zero Champions for appropriate awards for local, state and national recognition. Wow, thank you. Thanks for listening. I know that took a few minutes. All right, so is there anyone that would like to speak on MM2? Doesn't look like there is. So if not, I will put that to the vote. All in favour of the mayoral minute, that is unanimous. Okay, we will now move on to petitions. Has any petitions been received by councillors or staff? No, looks like no petitions. Okay, general business. I would like to invite councillors to nominate any items on the agenda that they wish to have a site inspection for. So we'll do that first. Okay, looks like there are no requests. General business items to be moved without debate. So can I please ask the councillor to nominate any items on the agenda that they wish to adopt as per the officer's recommendation, allowing for minor changes without debate. Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I nominate the following items to adopt in accordance with the officer's recommendation, allowing for minor changes without debate. Business items 1 through 6. Business item 8, business items 11 through 15, and C1. And I'll just say that again. So that's business items 1 through 6, business item 8, business items 11 through 15, and C1.
Okay, so just to confirm, that would be excluding GB7, GB9, GB10.
And GB16.
GB16 and C2.
Yes,
correct?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Okay, all those in... Oh, I'll have a seconder. So Councillor Matt Devlin was the quickest off the mark. And I would like to move those. So all those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay. So the first item, I believe, is oh, sorry, if I missed something.
Sorry, would it be okay if I moved NM1 without debate, Madam?
Yep. Okay, we can do that. So, okay, a seconder, is that you, Councillor Matt Devlin? Okay, as a seconder, all those in favour? That is unanimous. All right, so we will then move to GB7. Okay, I'll just bring up GB7, which is the 2025 to 26 budget review, first quarter ended September 2025. Do I have a mover? I have Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have an alternate motion to move.
Okay, no worries. Can we organise that to pop up on the screen? And if I could actually get you to read
Yes.
that, please, the
Yes,
alternate motion.
The recommendation, the first point is as per officer's recommendation that the 2025-26 quarterly budget review and recommended changes are received and noted. Point 2, that a report be brought back to Council in February 2026, incorporating A, capital expenditure budgets, actuals and carry forward amounts for the last 4 full financial years. B, detailed reasons for deferral of $30 million in capital projects this year, FY26. C, scale of capital project delivery of comparable councils. And D, measures put in place, I should speak closer to my mic, sorry. D, measures put in place for more accurate budgeting, delivery and forecasting in future years.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Can we just pop our lights on if we don't mind? Councillor Jeff Pettit, seconded. Okay. Councillor Indu Balachandran, would you like to speak?
Yes, I don't have much to say on this except there's a significant quantum of projects being carried forward this year to next year or future years. I have discussed this with the General Manager and the amendment will simply give us more information to understand our council's capital project load better and how this is being managed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Councillor Pettit, would you like to speak as seconder?
Absolutely. Councillor Balachandran and I just tic-tac a little bit in regards to this, and when we sort of looked at the numbers, some of those numbers are huge. And I think when you look at the reports that we receive, probably one line is not sufficient as an explanation for the variations and the movement in it. I think it's important that councillors get further information to avoid situations. I might throw up like Norman Griffiths, how that went from 3.6 million up to, whoa, through the roof. So I think this is a good way of getting more information for councillors, and they can look at it and actually get a better format. You know, when you look through your business papers, it all goes that way, and then suddenly with this section, it goes the other way. Not user-friendly. So I commend Councillor Balachandran for looking at that and was very happy to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Pettit. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Smith. Deputy Mayor Martin Smith.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I would just like to ask a question through you to Councillor Balachandran, just in relation to the amendment that's actually been, or sorry, the motion that's been moved here this evening. Have you had the opportunity to speak to the staff in relation to this before putting this motion up?
Yeah, Councillor Pettit.
Madam Mayor, yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. If we could just, before we respond, wait for me to ask. No, that's okay. All right. Any further questions, Councillor Smith?
Just with that, I'm taking it that you weren't satisfied and is the reason why you're putting up this evening, rather than it's a conversation that we can actually have in council with the staff in regarding these matters. I'm just saying that because I've actually spoken to staff about it, and I got more than what I consider as reasonable reasons on what was going forward and what we're doing moving forward. So I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I'm just saying there's a lot of things that we can actually discuss with the staff without looking like that we're potentially signalling an issue where there may not be an issue.
Out through you, Madam Mayor.
Are you asking another question, Councillor Smith, of
No, that was my
Councillor
alarm
Balachandran?
reminding me that I should take some
Okay.
tablets.
Did you want to ask?
Um,
Are there
I
questions
think
for the staff?
I think in relation to this this motion, I feel that personally, I feel that I've actually asked these questions. I was comfortable with it, and it's something we can move forward with the staff and moving forward. My concern is what you've put up could be seen as signalling, or that there's an issue with what's going on, which I don't believe there's any issue going on, if you understand. So you're still comfortable to move that?
I don't know if Councillor Smith's actually asking a question or just making a statement. So, okay, are you asking that question, Councillor Smith?
I think Councillor Balachandran's going to answer it in any case. I'll leave it as a statement. Thank you.
Okay, he's left it as a statement, Councillor Balachandran, so no need to answer. Councillor Matt Devlin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too welcome the amendment. I did appreciate having the opportunity today to speak about this with Councillor Balachandran, and I know that there had been some correspondence amongst councillors in recent days. The amendment under item 2, particularly with relation to deferred projects, I think that's pretty fair and reasonable for the community, not just councillors, but for the broader community to have an understanding for the justification behind why, if any, a deferral has been undertaken with relation to a capital project or any other works that council's undertaken. I see these as more than signalling. I see these as sensible amendments that don't increase the overall workload of council and provide better and more consistent information to the community over a 4-year window in each annual report. So I commend both Councillor Balachandran and thank Councillor Pettit for supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm in support of this version of the motion. I do note, similar to Councillor Smith, that quite often, if you ask questions with council staff behind the scenes or make certain inquiries, a lot of these things could have been implemented anyway. Having said that, we need to also remember that this is a public document, that members of the public don't necessarily have the same level of access as councillors do to understand what's happening behind the scenes. So if we can uplift reporting in this manner, then I don't see it. Well, I see it as being a constructive thing. Finally, I'd just like to say that, look, we've had similar iterations or versions of this financial report for a number of years, and there are some councillors here who've had the opportunity 4 years, 8 years, even 13 years to suggest changes here, and I just commend Councillor Balachandran for having a fresh set of eyes. So, with all that said, I'm in support of this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've had several conversations with Councillor Balachandran about this. My question through you, Madam Mayor, is to staff. I think all of us have individually asked questions around finances. Could the staff have changed the reporting, and could they have given us more information?
All right, I will pass that question on to you, General Manager, if you'd like to take that, or the Corporate Director.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we could have provided more detail. I agree. There is an attachment there that provides some detail around transfers to budgets. However, I do agree that we can provide some reasoning behind each project that's proposed to be deferred.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran.
I have a question through you, Madam Mayor. I'm just trying to get my head around whether in the new, I don't know who I'm going to ask. I'll let the right person
We'll
ask.
let the general manager decide who
The
it
new code
belongs
of
to.
conduct, I understand, requires that any questions that are asked to staff regarding any items on the agenda after they are published, the answers to those must be made public. Is that correct?
I will refer that to you, General Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, that's in the new model code, which will take effect in the new year.
Right.
So yeah, once a business paper is published, if a councillor asks a staff member a question, the response must be published, yeah.
Okay, so then I suppose what we're doing is just bringing forward that discipline by 1 month or 2 months. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Not quite, because the equivalent would be if you had asked me a question or a staff member a question behind the scenes, we'd answered it, then we would have published it,
Yes.
as opposed to this, which is asking for a report in the future.
Yes. But if I had asked you questions about the explanations and was satisfied with those responses, that would have then been published, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Are there any more speakers? Councillor Balachandran, as the mover, would you like to sum up?
Very briefly, thank you, and thank you to all the councillors for their queries about, what the intent of this is. It is not the intent is not an expose. It's just to give us more information, and for us as councillors to be transparent and ask the questions that we need to ask, and in some ways, be confident that the staff will be able to provide solid answers. So I look forward to the information being brought forward should this motion be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That looks like that's unanimous. Okay. I will now move on to the next item, which is GB9. So Ku-ring-gai Council meeting and public forum dates for 2026. I've just got an alternate motion that will come up. So this is basically the same, only that we will have no ordinary meeting of council. We only need to have 10 meetings a year, so that is covered within the rest of the calendar. So I think it's quite self-explanatory. So if I can move that and have a seconder, Councillor Kim Wheatley, would anyone like to speak on this? That being the case, Councillor Kim Wheatley.
I think it's a fantastic idea that you've put forward, given the fact that the majority of the reporting is, there's no reporting done in July. So that works well with the council, and also that it's quite a long or extended break for school holidays. And most people are away, and there tends to be little or not a lot of business during that time. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatley. No other speakers? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, the next item is GB10.
My
Ku-ring-gai
apologies, Madam Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
That was not a unanimous vote.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll do that again then, if that wasn't unanimous. All those in favour? Councillor Smith, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Ward, Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Nye, Councillor Pettit, Councillor Spencer, Councillor Kay. Those against? Councillor Devlin. That being 9-1, the motion has been carried. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Devlin, I thought you had your hand up. All right, let's move to GB10, which is Ku-ring-gai Council's Annual Report 2024 to 2025. If I could have a mover, that looks like Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's me again. I have an alternate motion.
That's okay.
I will read that out.
Yes, please.
So that the alternate motion is that Council endorse the Annual Report 24-25, subject to final proofing and editing. 2, note that the report will be published by 30 November 2025 and notified to the government by providing a link to the annual report to the Office of Local Government. Those 2 are the original office's recommendations. 3 and 4 are my updates. So number 3, update the format of the annual report in future years to incorporate historical reporting for comparison and trends in delivery of key indicators in the annual report. And number 4, investigate the addition of a community report card as part of the annual reporting from FY26, which will be a short and engaging visual summary for residents outlining significant projects, important changes and challenges, and key measures of success set by the community strategic plan. For example, the Parramatta City Council has one of these.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jeff Pettit actually he's up on my screen. So seconded by Councillor Jeff Pettit. Back to you, Councillor Indu Balachandran. Would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The amendments are simply to, as I was reading the annual report, I realised that they're just snapshots of the year, and it would be useful for the community and the audience of the annual report to understand if we are improving over time. So that's the intent of the third point, time series effectively analysis. And the fourth point is the annual report is hundreds of pages long, and it's difficult for residents to find a kind of visual summary. So it offers a kind of more engaging report that is targeted to time-poor residents so that they might understand quickly where we have what we have achieved that year and what our challenges are. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Councillor Jeff Pettit, would you like to speak as seconder?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor. When Councillor Balachandran put this through to me, I thought, point 4, visual, makes it more engaging. There's nothing more dull than reading words and pages and pages and pages of verbiage without anything more entertaining or more engaging. I think having visual summaries that will catch the reader's eye is a much better way of it. Looking at words and numbers can be a bit mundane. If we make it more entertaining, I think more people will read it. So thank you very much for coming up with that concept.
Thank you, Councillor Pettit. Councillor Cedric Spencer.
Thank you. I just have a question to the mover. So item number
Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Spencer has a question.
So item number 3, it says future years. Are you envisaging the following year, or you are leaving it open?
Yes, that's okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
I did speak to the General Manager, and he said some of the information in the annual report's being reported in its current format for the first time, so it might be difficult to get meaningful historical data, so I've left it to the staff to decide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. Councillor Sam No.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm in support of point 4. Point 3, I just have a question through to the General Manager or relevant Director. With point 3, I understand there are sometimes specific formats that we're required to follow in the annual report as a local government entity. Is point 3 consistent with whatever formats required of us from the Office of Local Government?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the format is consistent.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I just conclude that I'm in support of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Are there any more speakers? Councillor Balachandran, did you want to sum up?
No, thank you, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
no worries. If that's the case, I will put that to the vote. If we could hold our hands high. All those in favour is unanimous. Okay. Now we will move on to, I think that was all for the GB items. Oh, 16's in confidential. Oh, okay. Right, so if I can have a mover. No, that's fine. GB16 will be in confidential. Okay. So we'll just move on to NM1. Okay. Oh, sorry, NM2. We actually had already done NM1. Okay. So do I have a mover for NM2?
Madam Mayor, thank you. I would like to move NM2 as printed.
Okay. I will second being the other person on the NM. Councillor Devlin, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to speak to this briefly. I would firstly like to thank the staff for their efforts in assisting in the preparation of this notice of motion and foreshadowing the work that they will undertake in the coming months to come back with what I feel to be a perfectly straightforward and logical proposal to roll out and improve public health across our LGA. I'd also like to thank many in the community who have reached out, be it those who have participated in the public forum last week and the emotive stories that were shared at that forum, or those who have reached out privately and expressed their own experiences with relation to sudden tragedy, with relation to sudden cardiac arrest across not just our LGA but elsewhere when people have been abroad. So whilst at this stage this motion does not seek to commit us to any cost, what it does intend to do is allow the council in the early next year, 2026, the opportunity to undertake a very detailed and thorough determination on the best way to boost public health across our community. I thank everyone who has already spoken or at least asked questions in favourable manners at the public forum as well, and I anticipate this to be well received across the community. I think it's an important notice of motion to put up, and I would also like to acknowledge the work that has been done in this area under the previous term of this council, and as well as local community organisations who have been involved in the area of grants in this space too. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. As the seconder, I will briefly speak on this and then we'll get to you then, Councillor Ward. Tonight, Councillor Devlin and I bring forward a motion that is simple in purpose but profound in impact, improving community access to life-saving defibrillators across Ku-ring-gai. Last week, many of us attended a deeply moving forum where two speakers bravely shared their personal stories. One spoke of an unimaginable tragedy and loss. The other shared a story of survival and courage, a moment where acting quickly made all the difference. Both speakers reminded us that cardiac arrest can happen anywhere, anytime, and often without warning. Their message was clear and powerful. There is no cost that can ever be placed on a human life. Currently, while Council has AEDs across various facilities, most of them are locked inside buildings when the community needs them most. Cardiac arrest doesn't wait for business hours. It happens on sporting fields, in parks, at playgrounds and community spaces, the very places where our residents come together every day. This notice of motion calls for staged rollout of external, publicly accessible 24-hour AEDs, beginning with all sporting fields and then expanding to community buildings, recreation areas and public parks. These devices would be placed where people are most active, clearly visible and easy to reach, ensuring life-saving help is available when it is needed most. Yes, this will require investment and planning, but this is not just another project. It is a commitment to protecting our community, a commitment to the families who gather at our sports grounds, to the seniors who walk our parks, to the children who play in our open spaces. And if this program saves even one life, then every effort put into it will have been worth it. When I think back to the two incredibly brave speakers last week, I am reminded of why we must act. Their stories were not just about the past, they were a call to action for all of us. We cannot prevent every emergency, but we can ensure our community has the tools to respond. We can give families hope. We can give someone a second chance. Tonight, we have the opportunity to make Ku-ring-gai a safer and more resilient place for everybody. Thank you. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question through you, Madam Mayor. In July of this year, I organised St. John's to come and speak to the sporting forum that we had about the defibrillators and their interest to help Ku-ring-gai Council. My question to the appropriate staff is if I could have the status of that particular
Director of Operations, would you like to answer that question for Councillor Ward?
Through you, Madam Mayor. The St. John's program is still ongoing. They did experience a bit of a delay on their side. However, they have come back to us and said that their grant has been extended to March of next year and that they are still prepared to work with council to provide some locations.
And how many were they?
My understanding is that they've got 10 in total to be shared between Hornsby Council and Ku-ring-gai Council, so it's probably 5 for Ku-ring-gai.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, could that be part of this program that you have just spoke about?
Through you, Madam Mayor, this report, if resolved by Council, will consider funding, including sponsorships and programs of that nature.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Jeff Pettit.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm quite happy to inform people that currently we have 22 installed at various public facilities throughout the LGA. And this was sort of started under the former Director of Operations, Director Banasif. It was one of those things that does make a difference. I can recall one of the sporting grounds where one had been installed in my area, and it came in very handy not long after it was installed. It was used and it did save a life. So it is very much a worthwhile investment. The more we roll these out across the LGA, the more lives potentially we will save. So with all haste, shall we say, we get this report and see how we can ensure that these life-saving devices are installed across the LGA. In the council facilities, at sporting fields, literally everywhere, because it does make a difference.
Thank you, Councillor Pettit. Councillor Matt Devlin, do you have some questions?
Yes, I did. Through you, Madam Mayor, likely to the Director of Operations, just with relation to the grants process, those 10 units that have been made available, potentially through St John's, as referenced by Councillor Ward. Would it be, just wanted to clarify, it would be your intent to find the most efficient unit, more so necessarily than a particularly branded one, if it was to go down the avenue of our servicing and monitoring and maintenance program for the life of those units? Would that be the case?
Through you, Madam Mayor, my understanding is that the units they will be providing will have that capability.
Terrific. Thanks very much. Just want to clarify that. One further question. I, through the correspondence that has been received on this particular notice of motion, have received feedback from that's very exciting, Madam Mayor, I know. A local sporting organisation, one of the co-users of Hassel Park at St Ives. I appreciate that right at the moment we might not necessarily want to commit to something if we're going to undertake a broader review across the whole of the LGA. I suppose to phrase it as a question, is it possible, Madam Mayor, through you, that the department, the operations director liaise with them and we can try and expedite at least the unit that's available to them, or work with them to prolong the grant window that they may have for the funding available at Hassel Park?
Director of Operations.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not familiar with the Hassel Park one. Would that be Warramute? The one that was that the one
No, it's-
mentioned at last week's public forum?
Yes, it was. Sorry, I said Hassel Park. You're quite right. Warramute is the overall question.
So we've clarified that situation. They do have a grant which came in after our initial discussions with the club, and yeah, we will continue working with them and make sure that we can, take advantage of that.
Perfect. That's great relief. Thank you very much, Director.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Councillor Cedric Spencer.
Well, I just want to say that this is a good initiative. And my name is really, I was recently at the Sandbox School, the High and there was not a so then something that one appreciate that if there are
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question to you, I guess, or to Councillor Devlin. Could we include the St. John's defibrillator as part of this, or do you think it was covered?
All right.
You covered?
Can you just repeat that with your light on, Councillor Devlin, if you don't
My
mind?
apologies, Madam Mayor. I did cut across early. My understanding is that the intent of the motion as it stands is for the staff to undertake a full and thorough review of all funding opportunities at programs that are available, grants or otherwise, so that the best outcome for the ratepayer and the public health needs of the broader community are met.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. I will just double check with the Director of Operations if that's your interpretation.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's the intention of the report.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no other speakers, I will put that to the vote. Oh, actually, sorry, Councillor Devlin, did you want to sum up before I do that?
I did want to sum up just briefly, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate that whilst there are other pressing items, this has garnered some attention, but I think such is the nature of the importance of providing these life-saving devices across the LGA. Whilst there were indeed moving examples last week, this is something that I have been hopeful that this council could address, given I believe that the impact of sudden cardiac arrest is something that affects every single councillor and member of staff and member of the community in this room tonight, be it either a family member, a loved one or a colleague. And if that doesn't ring true, then quite simply I suggest you go out and buy a lottery ticket, because you'll be one of a very rare number of individuals who have not experienced such tragic circumstances. In my own life, I lost my best mate in 2017 playing footy playing a local game of rugby, and that was quite a tragic incident. And if upon the benefit of hindsight there had been a unit available, then the outcome may well have differed in similar light to the touching story that the lived experience from Jenny Rafati last week. So I appreciate all of the support and some of the questions that have come from colleagues this evening, and look forward to seeing this come back to council in the new year, and commend it to everyone for their support.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Okay, I'll put that to the vote. All those for? That is unanimous. Okay, now we'll move to confidential matters. So, in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act and the resolution of Council earlier this evening, the items GB 16 and C2 are confidential, and discussion will be closed to the public. So if I could have a motion to move into a confidential session for GB 16 and GB 2, moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Now, just for the members in the gallery, we will be going into what we call the ante-room, so you can remain in the chambers, and we will shortly return to the chambers after we will have had our discussions to continue the meeting. Thank you. For those in the chamber and online, I want to thank you for your patience. The confidential discussion, unfortunately, will take at least an extra 60 minutes, possibly longer, before we will reconvene with the resolution. It's up to you if you want to stay, but we will be some time, unfortunately, with the two confidential items. So you can go home and watch it online, but it will be at least 60 minutes, possibly 2 hours. Yep, that's fine. We will be here. If you want to stay that period of time, that's entirely up to you. But thank you to all online. We will get back into our discussions. Thank you. The Council resolved, while in confidential session, recommendations for GB 16 and C1, which were the confidential items. We will start with C2, I believe. Sorry, that is incorrect. So C2, which was the project review. And we voted on the staff recommendation. So the staff recommendation is that the report be received and noted and any recommendations contained in the report considered. That was moved by Councillor Kay, seconded by Councillor Ward, and was unanimously voted on. The second item in confidential was GB 16. I'll also just get that up on the screen if we could. So we had a resolution that was moved by Councillor Kay, seconded by Councillor Wheatley. The vote was unanimous, but I will actually read out the motion, which is now up on the screen. Thank you, Chris. A, that Council notes that Council adopted alternative transport-oriented development scheme was largely implemented by the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure on the 14th of November 2025 by State Environment Planning Policy Amendment, Ku-ring-gai Station Precincts 2025, ensuring 1. The protection of heritage, 2. Preservation of biodiversity and tree canopy, 3. Protection of the desired future character of Ku-ring-gai, and 4. Revitalisation of its town centres. B. While Council considers it has strong prospects of having the TODSEC declared invalid in its proceedings against the State of New South Wales, it appreciates that even if it were successful, the proceedings themselves would not have led to the outcomes that Council has now been able to achieve. And C. While Council acknowledges that the transitional provisions associated with state significant developments were not resolved to its satisfaction, this alone would not justify the continuation of the proceedings in all the circumstances. B. That Council accept the offer of the State of New South Wales that the current proceedings in the Land and Environment Court be discontinued on the basis that each party bear its own cost. The discontinuance to be filed at court with the consent of the State within 1 business day of the amended maps being published on the spatial viewer in the same form that those maps were provided to Council last week. Okay, we will now move on to our last part of the meeting, and that is business without notice. Is there any business without notice subject to clause 9.3 of the Code of Meeting Practice? There is no business without notice. Okay, so there being no further business, I'd like to thank councillors and staff and to all those online and those still in the gallery for your patience. I'd like to also thank the members of the public for their attendance. The webcast of this meeting will be available on the Council website and minutes will be published within the next 2 working days. I declare the meeting closed at 10:34 p.m. Thank you.